ladies and gentlemen, I would like to, send a shout out to Dr. Moonby of the Dr. Moonby Show, for talking about this story. But it also showed that we as black people here in the United States aren't the only country that deals with racism, that deals with police brutality, and it deals with, police officers killing unarmed black men and women in this country. You got a country like Israel, okay? A European Jewish teenager named Solomon Tekka, who he just turned 18 years old, and he was shot and killed by an off-duty Israeli police officer. But I'm gonna go ahead and play this news clipping in a second. But the story was, this is coming from the Israeli police officer. The story was there was a brawl between the teens that this is the same old story that the thing is that Solomon threw a rock at him. I feared for my life, and then he shot and killed Solomon. Okay. This is the same tactic they use here in the United States, but I'm going to go ahead and continue this. So when this happens, there's been protesting by Ethiopian Jews across Israel that spark riots in some places. So I'm going to go ahead and play this news clip about this, and I'm going to continue the rest of my commentary.
Protests on the street of Israel once again after a 19-year-old Ethiopian Israeli was shot dead by an off-duty police officer late Sunday. The officer says he was trying to break up a street brawl. He was arrested and later released to house arrest while police investigate.
Well, the policeman version is not according to my opinion of Mr. Solomon. I just simply refuse to believe that Mr. Solomon was a very violent person.
The shooting reignites tensions between Israeli police and the Ethiopian community, who's long been accusing the police of systemic racism against minorities. Israel's Ethiopian community numbers around 140,000 people, many of them born in Israel. They say they're targeted because of their skin color. A report by the Public Defender's Office in 2016 found almost 90% of young Ethiopian Israeli offenders were sentenced to prison. That's 3 times as many as non-immigrant Jewish minors. The number of criminal cases against Ethiopians have gone up in the past years, while it's decreased for the total Jewish population. The issue being labeled as the Israeli Black Lives Matter.
I think for sure we can compare it to the Black Lives Matter campaign in the US. We can see here also that the police is treating Ethiopian minorities as suspects, as immediate suspects, and using against them violence in a manner that is not proportionate to any other population. It is part of racism that is very strong in the police and in our society in general.
The acting police commissioner said, "I call for restraint and responsibility and even to avoid a fiery debate. The investigating body must be allowed to exhaust the investigation to its fullest extent." The Israeli Prime Minister also weighed in, saying the police assured him they'd make a great effort to get to the truth quickly.
I think there is no doubt about it. It is systemic racism, and it was clear already in 2016 when the Ministry of Justice published a report showing data about Ethiopian minority being victims of police brutality and of over-policing. So for sure it is part of systemic racism.
The issue has been flaring up in the past years, with committees being established and reports released. But critics say not much has changed.
Shout out to I-24 English for this story. And again, I would like to also send a shout out to Dr. Moonby of the Dr. Moonby Show for, doing this story about this. And again, ladies and gentlemen, the United States isn't the only country that's been dealing with unarmed black men and women being murdered by police. It happens all around the world. And this is a perfect example of it. This is he just turned 18, and this is according to Dr. Moonby that, Solomon Tekka just turned 18. He was hanging out at a park with his friends. And so, and the thing of it is that the police claim that he know that he was a police officer. He had finally identified himself as a police officer because he tried to break up a fight or break up a street brawl, and all of a sudden he claims, this is what he claims, that he threw a rock at him, and the thing of it is that he said the gun went off and it ricocheted and hit his chest and hit Solomon Tekas's chest. So his family was in disbelief. His family didn't. Solomon Tekas's family, of course, didn't believe this story from the Israeli police. So this is basically, it's happening around the world, ladies and gentlemen. It's happening not only here in the United States, it's happening in Israel, it's happening in Africa, some in Europe. And believe me, this white supremacy is happening everywhere. Racism is happening everywhere. So the thing of it is that now there's been riots across Israel. You got riots in some parts of Tel Aviv, parts of Haifa, parts of main cities of Israel because of what happened to Solomon Tekah. And there's been protests today. Protests today, as I've been seeing in other, world news. And it's funny, the United States the mainstream media didn't even cover this story. I just found it out from, again, Dr. Moonby from the Dr. Moonby show. So that's how I knew about this story. But it's odd, it's really odd that you have situations here in the United States, and we're talking about what's the 4th of July holiday and everything else. And then there's other incidents like this around the world, similar to what's going on here in the United States when police killing unarmed black men and women. Now you have the situation in Israel, and nobody's talking about it. So and then you see what they did. They put this officer on house arrest, until the investigation is complete. It's like saying here in the United States, they're gonna put the police paid administrative leave until the investigation is complete. Nothing's changed. Whether you live here, whether you live in Israel, whether you live in Australia, living in the UK, living in France, nothing's changed when it comes to white supremacy and racism. Nothing. So a teenager who just turned his 18th birthday lost his life. The parents still have questions and answers on why, their child was murdered, because they saying that he was killed, but really that was a murder by an off-duty Israeli police officer. And this is the same situation that's happened here in this country. When you have different incidents, you say, I fear for my life and I try to protect myself. It's nothing changed. So, I'm feeling, like I said, this is solidarity of Solomon Tekah. My thoughts and prayers from here in the United States to Solomon Tekah's family and the rest of Ethiopian Jews across Israel, because, if it happens here, it's going to happen in Israel, it's going to happen in Africa, parts of Africa, it's going to happen in South America, in Europe, in Australia. It doesn't matter. Racism isn't changed. Police brutality isn't changed. So, again, you got incidents like this, and there's nothing changed now. So leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Like, click, subscribe, and remember to click the notification bell for all the news and commentary. With that being said, this is Lions Den signing off. Deuces.